ways too. So I will just tell you what I know, and my love of not only birding, but then becoming a winter birder. I used to call myself a freeze baby until I got dogs and started birding. So, you know, I started out with the cedar waxwing because that was my hook bird. And the hook bird is what got you into birding. And when somebody showed me that, I couldn't believe it was here. And I couldn't believe it was here all year round. They kind of like robins, many cedar waxwings migrate, and a few stay here, you know, as long as they can find a food source. So I'm very thankful for the very colorful cedar waxwings in the winter. So a little about me, I use she, her pronouns. I started birding, you know, a little over 20 years ago, and maybe 15 years ago, I became a photographer, and not because I wanted to become a bird photographer, but because I wanted to share what I was seeing with people. I wanted people to see and understand and protect what we have here in Minnesota. And if I was just showing phones for my camera, they wouldn't appreciate the beauty of the birds. And so I do for about 15 years, 15 years straight, every single day I've posted a new bird of the day on my Facebook page. And all Minnesota birds. I try to do about 200 different species a year, and people are amazed about what we have right here. So I'm glad I can share that with them. And, you know, like Marion said, you know, I'm really interested in what you want to know. So if you want to put your questions in the chat, I hope I am addressing some of them as I'm talking, and then we'll get to the questions, other questions at the end. So I really want this to be for you. She also mentioned the Urban Bird Collective, and I really want to, you know, lift up the Urban Bird Collective. I started it about 5 years ago, and I wanted to really, you know, as I was posting my birds on Facebook, and people knew me, and especially people of color, they would ask me like, can I come out with you? You know, you're, I don't feel as safe out there. And I'm like, absolutely. But the problem was, it was just me. And so what I did was I gathered around some of my friends who were good birders, and then found others who were, and especially BIPOC and LGBT folks. And we became the Urban Bird Collective. And we have about 19 leaders currently who lead walks, whether it's walks or going kayaking or, you know, biking. We just want to get people out into our green spaces. And I want to point out that Wilmer is one of our leaders. Yeah, being, you know, when I think about not only winter birding, but just birding in general, but in winter, it's like when we really need the birds. Thinking about the gloomy days, we need them in the winter and the cold. Being out, I think about, you know, being out in a new snow after a new snow has come and dumped on us, and just taking a walk and being amazed about the calm, especially on a weekend when people aren't heading to work. Just being outside is amazing. One of my favorite things to do, and especially seeing the cardinals pop out and through that white snow. You know, Marion mentioned just listening. So, you know, as I became a birder, I not only saw other birds, you know, that were there before I became a birder, but then once I was a birder, I was like, wow, okay, so, you know, you see things, but then as you get to be more engaged and learn more, just hearing the different songs and knowing what that bird is, just to me, just reduces the stress. It makes me smile. So I love hearing the birds, especially in the winter. Being out in the winter just keeps you physically active. I don't know about you, but it's very easy to put on those winter pounds. And so being outside and just moving, um, I need it. So um, being physically active, that's another benefit. And then nature is just healing. I think that one of the reasons why I started the Urban Bird Collective was because nature is so healing. And when not everybody can enjoy it the same way, I think it's a real disservice. And so I want people to be able to enjoy nature as much as possible and without feeling unsafe. And then the other is just like it provides moments of awe and amazement. You just never know what you're going to see. I always think about when I go to certain places, like here's the things that I'm probably going to see, and then I'm super excited about those special birds that just happen to pop up. And a good example of that was this past weekend. We did a walk at Lower Phelan Creek, and there's usually eagles and hawks there, and of course cardinals and other birds. And then Lower Phelan Creek is near downtown St. Paul, and across in downtown St. Paul there's a peregrine falcon that hangs out in the buildings. And we were standing on one of the trails, and all of a sudden a peregrine falcon just flew right at us. I was very lucky to get a picture, but that was just like, it was amazing, and we never expected it. And it was great for the people who were joining us and were new walkers, new birders that day. Getting outside, so a lot of people think, oh, winter, like I'm gonna just hang out in the house and be by a fire. I'm a biker. I'm a year-round biker. I didn't start that until maybe 15 years ago. And just like everything else, winter biking, you have to have the right equipment. And so I have studded tires and the right gloves and all those things. So it makes it so much more enjoyable and kind of badass, when I'm out there biking with other folks. Kayaking, I've kayaked in the middle of winter. There's a place down at Hidden Falls that is open year round, and I've actually thrown my kayak in there in the winter, and it's kind of cool being in the snow and being in the river, and also kind of dangerous, so I'm very careful. The other things I like to do while I'm birding, snowshoeing. I like to snowshoe, just being on general hikes, and then cross-country skiing. So those are all things that you can do while you're kind of like listening to the birds and looking for birds. I don't know about you, but I'm a terrible driver too, because I'm always like driving and kind of looking and seeing what's flying around out there. What do I need to know, or what do you need to know? When I think about before I go out, especially every morning when I head to work on my bike, I find out what the temperature is. I find out, what the wind speed is. The other things that I think about, especially winter birding, is how long am I going to be out? There's winter birding where you might go on hikes, and then there's winter birding where you might be more in a car. So just thinking about those things, when I think about what do I need, we'll talk about dressing, but I always think about overdressing can be as bad, if not worse, than underdressing. Thinking about just being so hot because you thought it was going to be so cold. And then you're just, it's kind of miserable. So knowing what the temperature is, the wind, and all these things will really help to think about, like, how do I need to dress? So thinking about that, winter clothes, dressing in layers. You may think that you're going to start out, think you're going to start out, cold, but once you start moving, it's going to be really warm. Thinking about, where are you going to walk, and thinking about, if you're going to be in the woods, you're usually protected from the wind. So thinking about that, maybe it's 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour, but then once you get into the woods, it's just like, wow, this is amazing. So dressing in layers, having a light layer, and then, maybe a sweatshirt, a nice sweatshirt, and then even like a windbreaker, and then a warmer jacket, dressing in those layers so that you can remove a few here and there as you warm up. Footwear, making sure that you have good footwear that'll keep your feet warm, making sure that, thinking about icy paths, and thinking about maybe you might want to wear some tracks, the tracks that you put over your boots that really help on the ice. I think about when I'm biking, I have studded tires, and to me, tracks are like the studded tires of our shoes. And then thinking about, again, pants. I still consider myself a freeze baby. And so I tend to overdress, and I have to talk myself down a lot of times. And this past Sunday when we were going out, it was 30 degrees when it started, and I'm like, oh, do I wear long johns? Do I wear long johns? And I'm really glad I didn't. So just thinking about the different layers, thinking about long johns, good socks, weatherproof pants, things like that. The other thing I think about, when I think about if I'm going to be sitting someplace and when I'm birding, I always think about when I was a kid and I had those great snowsuits, and I still will wear bibs, or snowsuits depending on the temperature and what I'm looking for. So if I'm out, maybe it's X and Bog or other places, and I know that I'm going to be sitting for a while, I'll dress really warm and put on a snowmobile suit, and I'm perfect. The other thing to really think about, when you're out and about and you think it's winter, you think that you might not need water, but you really do use a lot of energy staying warm and, moving around. And so you can get dehydrated rather quickly. So always bringing water with you is really important. Some of my favorite winter birds. So chickadees, of course, are some of my favorite. They're just favorites. Hearing that chickadee as you're outside, it doesn't matter what temperature it is, 20 below. They brighten up my day. Juncos. Juncos come to visit us in the winter. Very thankful for them, kind of, because they bring the cold. I see them in the fall and I'm like, oh my gosh, winter's close behind. But they are very cute and they hang out at my feeders, and I love seeing them. And once you learn the Junco call, what I should say is you should learn the Junco call, because it's kind of it's not very distinctive, but once you learn it, then you're like, okay, the Juncos are around, and then you'll start to see them. The nuthatch. I'm gonna play the nuthatch call for you because it's it really does make me laugh. I think of a clown when I think of the nuthatch. That's got to make you smile. So I love hearing them and then just trying to find them, poking around in the trees, coming up and down. So I love the nuthatches. And in the winter, especially spring and fall migration, but some of them hang around here. And then of course they're up north, and that is the red-breasted nuthatch, which actually sounds like a truck backing up. I'll actually play that one for you. Um, So yeah, that's the red-breasted nuthatch, and he's just a little bit smaller than the white-breasted nuthatch. Always fun to see in the winter. And then, of course, the cardinals, both the male and the female. For me, what I'm always doing is, of course, the male is so much more vibrant, and whenever I see the male, I'm always looking for the female somewhere and hiding around. So, and especially after, you know, a new snow, they're always great to see. Some of my favorite winter hiking spots. What I like to have is one, places, like I said, that maybe have more woods, that you're protected from the wind, or places where there's open water. And so Sucker Lake is a great place. Old Cedar Avenue Bridge has great trails, and, you know, just depending on the temperatures, waters, you know, will be more open than other times. Lebanon Hills is a huge place, but there are some great woods there. And there was one winter when I was looking for a long-eared owl, and I just enjoyed the walk. And I never found the long-eared owl, but it was great to go there a few times just to try to find it and walk through the woods. Crosby Farm is by my house. Again, some really nice woods and some feeders, and just a really cool little farm. Oh, I'm thinking of Dodge Nature Center. Sorry, Dodge Nature Center is by my house, and it has a cool farm there. But then Crosby Farm, Crosby is also by my place. It's in St. Paul, and it has both woods and then just open trails, and it's by the river, by the Mississippi River. So that's a great place. And then Willow River, and I can't say this, Lake Malibu, is down by the St. Croix River, and that's where I go to try to find trumpeter swans in the winter. So there's usually open water there, and the trumpeter swans and geese and other ducks hang out down there, down right by the right off of 94. And then Bass Ponds is another place that I like to go. And again, water can be open or not. It's one of my favorite spring places to go, because that's where the ducks migrate. And I'm actually interested in hearing some of the places that you all consider your favorites. Then don't forget about the airport. So as you can see, there's a airplane in the back of this snowy owl. They usually come every year. I don't think I've heard reports this year yet that they've been there. So when you do hear reports, there are times when they actually capture the snowies and move them out, but some still come back. And so if you go down by the viewing area is where you can see some snowy owls. What I always say is, as you're driving down there, look on all the building tops, because that's actually where I've seen most of my snowies when I go down there. This was actually on the top of a post office. And then I was lucky enough to catch a plane that was going by. Another great place for winter birding is places that actually have feeders out. So the Minnesota River Valley, the Visitor Center, has some great feeders. I was just out there the other day, and just the variety of birds, and the turkeys were hanging out there. Fort Snelling has some. Carpenter Nature Center Carpenter Nature Center is one of my favorite places to hit on January 1st. I usually try to get a northern shrike on January 1st, and I go to Carpenter Nature Center to try to find it. And I can usually find like tree sparrows and, red-bellied woodpeckers, lots of different types of woodpeckers. And of course, nuthatches and lots of other birds hanging out there. Dodge Nature Center was again another place that has some good feeders, and then Elm Creek. And then there's so many other places that have bird feeders, but that's one of the things that I look for, especially in winter, because the birds are looking for it, to really find some good viewing. Thinking about how you get them to your yard. So, you know, the things that you probably all know, but I'll tell you. Having a good water source, you know, heated bird baths is one of the most important things. It takes a lot of energy for birds to try to, you know, people think, well, they can just drink the snow, they can just eat snow and they'll be fine, but it actually takes energy for them to do that. So having a water source is really important. And then a variety of food options. So I have suet, I have black oil seeds. So those are a great source of fat and calories, especially good for birds in the winter. Safflower, my cardinals love safflower, and so do the nuthatches. Thistle for the finches that are still here, you know, making sure, I think the thing with thistle and Niger is that making sure that it's fresh. It can go stale, and then they're like us, they're like, I don't want that. So changing it out, you know, often to make sure that it's fresh. And then the other thing that I do, I'm very proud of my yard this year, is having brush piles. So I have a place where I have a fence and another house that butts up to the fence, and I just built some really good brush piles for my sparrows and other birds. So that's something that they need. They really need the cover for the winter. And then having fruit trees and bushes for them to hang out is another good housing option. And then of course, food source in the summer and the fall. And then, you know, if you're attracting birds to your house, making sure that, you know, you have bird safe windows. You don't want to see them come up on your patio and having hit your window. That's no fun. So making sure that your windows are safe too if you're attracting birds into your feeders. The other thing that I do, you know, unfortunately, you know this, and that is that cats are a big source of why birds are killed. And, you know, I, like most neighborhoods, have cats that are out there. And so I actually have a protected, I call it my bird sanctuary. And it's a big round circle with all my feeders inside. And then I have fencing, big fencing, and then chicken wire on the bottom, so that at least the birds have a time to react to a cat or a predator trying to get it. I also know that my local Cooper's hawks and red-tailed hawks know that my house is kind of a smorgasbord. So every now and then when I come outside and I'm looking out there and it's kind of quiet, I'm looking around and I can see the hawks hanging in the yard, because the squirrels are kind of quiet too. They're just hanging out on the tree, trying not to get caught. When I think about winter birding, I think about Saxon Bog. And I think about going up north. I think about Duluth in general. So when I first started doing photography, before I did photography, I was sharing other people's photos, and of course I would give them credit. And then I decided that I was going to take my own photos. And so it was my first trip up to Saxon Bog. And I want to say it was the first bird I ever took a picture of myself was a great gray owl. So they're a treat. Just so you know, great gray owls are up at Saxon Bog all year round, but they tend to get a few more in the winter. Zaxton Bog is also great for other owls that come down. So this is a northern hawk owl, and it's always a treat to get them. I don't get them every year when I go up there, but I think I got this last year. And then the other, the birds that come down from Canada to the bog and to northern Minnesota are, a lot of the finches. So, these are the grosbeak. This is a pine grosbeak. I'm sorry, evening grosbeak. And the pine grosbeaks come down, red crossbills, red poles, and I don't always get to see them in the winter, but pine siskins are other birds that come down. So, the going up north, you get a whole new variety of birds that come down in the winter. The other is one of my favorites is the boreal chickadee, and they are getting, I would say I've seen them more often in more places in the bog, so that's always fun. But they're just such a treat, and they're so cute. Black-capped chickadees are very cute, but these boreal chickadees are really, really cute. And then this North Shore treat. So the cedar waxwing was my hook bird, but getting to see the Bohemian waxwing. I think every trip that I go up to Duluth in the winter, I'm always looking for Bohemian waxwings. And so there's a couple places that I normally go. And I would say I see them maybe half of the time. I got this last year. This was, I got really lucky, and when I'm in Duluth, I'm just always looking at the berry trees and trying to see, where these are at, because, they fly all over. But I was able to stop and see these, and there was maybe like at least 500 of them just flying around. So again, the awe of seeing these was just amazing. And then, I think about for me, I love to get out for a reason or purpose. And so coming up are the winter bird counts, are the Christmas bird counts, as you might know them. And they typically run through, December 15th to January 2nd. And, they're all over the country, and they're all over here in Minnesota. And there's, like I said, they're all over, and there's a lot of places that are close by in the Twin Cities, near the Twin Cities and suburbs, where people are counting birds and actually need help. And so if you're interested in Christmas bird counts or winter bird counts, it's the 123rd annual Christmas bird count. And Steve Weston, who runs it here in Minnesota, is actually looking for people to help. And you don't have to be a good birder. You will probably go out with others, and what they say is it's better to have more eyes. And you get to learn. You get to learn some of the birds that are out there. And so if you're interested, you can check out, MOU's site and see where they're still looking for people to help count. So it's, the Urban Bird Collective is involved in 3 winter bird counts this year. One at Black Dog Road, a new one that is the West Metro in sort of Minneapolis. And then we're also doing one with the Shakopee Metawakan Sioux community. And this will be the 2nd year that we are doing it with the Shakopee folks. And last year was our first, and my favorite bird from last year was a red-shouldered hawk. So that was really special to see that one. So there's so many ways to get outside. I think it's just important to have the right equipment, the right clothes. I know that it can be expensive to have the right clothes, but it doesn't have to be. I like to go thrifting. I've gotten a lot of my really good clothes from secondhand stores, finding sales, you know, maybe putting it out there like you're looking for something. And I know that so many people have things that they're willing to share, or like, I'm never going to use this again, it's yours. So, you know, don't let that be a barrier. And yeah, get out there. It's so good for your health and well-being. So that's really, I would love to answer some questions from you all, and yeah, I've done a lot of talking.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Monica. Yeah, we have some questions that people
okay,
posted on the chat. So, and I think you talk about some of them.
okay.
One of the questions was, yeah, what are the best winter birding opportunities in Minnesota beyond Saxon Bog?
Mhm. Yeah, so beyond Bog, the North Shore is really great. Actually, you know, hitting Duluth, um, uh, I would say, you know, going up to Park Point. Um, for me, I think about, you know, winter starts for a lot of people. Winter starts in October. It's starting to get cold. And the Hawk Ridge is actually a really great place to view migration of especially raptors. And different types of raptors come through at different times of the migration. And during October, November, you're getting what I love, one of my favorites is the golden eagles. So they're coming towards the end of that migration, northern goshawks, a lot of variety of hawks, but that's a place where, you know, you're going to need, because you're just hunkering down and you're just waiting for the birds to come. And so having a really, you know, having a snowsuit, having good boots and stuff, and sitting there and waiting for those birds to come, you'll want to be prepared for that. The other thing that I like to do in the winter is, you know, I might park myself in Duluth, but then go up the North Shore. So Two Harbors usually has open water. So you'll see some ducks there, and gulls. The other place that I go when I head to Duluth is I actually go into Wisconsin and go to Wisconsin Point. And again, you know, people think gulls, but in Duluth in the winter, there are a variety of gulls. And so, you know, you can see, you know, 6 different types of gulls. And every now and then um, there are gull sort of tours that you can go on, and just to learn a little bit more about how to pick them out. Not that I will ever be an expert ever on gulls, because they, yeah, when you think about gulls and the different cycles that they go through, yes, it's very hard. But I can tell herring from a ringbill, and maybe, you know, a thayer. And then still going up the North Shore, Grand Marais is another place that is pretty amazing. And then another place that I've gone to and actually stayed there a few days is, oh my gosh, it's up by Grand Marais, Gunflint Lodge. So Gunflint Lodge, again, has lots of great birds, beautiful scenery. My goal every time I go up there is to try to see a moose. I never have, but I'm still holding out hope. So those are places. And then another place in the winter that I like to go to is Armstrong. I think it's wetlands. It's down near Owatonna. And one of the reasons why I go there is to see the short-eared owls. And so going to see them during dusk is the best time, you know, get there before it gets too dark. And and then all of a sudden you can see them flying around. I'm trying to think of other places. I can't think of them right offhand.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. Thank you. Yeah, and there were some questions about, keeping warm.
Yeah,
Tips on keeping fingers warm when using
yeah,
binoculars or focusing binoculars.
sure. I should have had my gloves. So I've got special gloves because I have my camera, and it's a glove that has a zipper. And so once I open the zipper, then it has a glove inside so that I can, maneuver to use my camera and my binoculars. So that's one tip. I think that, people do use the hand warmers. I don't use them, but I know other people do. And so you can do that. But I really do love my mittens that unzip and then have the little fingers that I can use to adjust.
Or even keeping your ears warm and still be able to hear the birds.
Yeah, tips for keeping your ears warm. That is hard. I think the thing is that you're in a place where you're not competing with the traffic. And so again, being out in, in more of the, wooded areas, I think, because your ears are going to get cold. You do not want to get your ears cold, but just, every now and then just kind of stopping and lifting it up and just hearing, because the other thing that you're doing is you're crunching, right? You're walking on the snow and you're being loud. So every now and then just like stopping and then just taking your earmuffs off and just listening and seeing what's around you and then keep going. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Another question that somebody posted here was the best time of the day for winter birding. Do you have a
Wow.
best time of the day?
If I were, of course, the best answer is like, well, when it's the warmest, right? But no, I think mornings, mornings are just when the birds are out. But again, like I said, with the owls, like if you're going to go look for owls, it's dusk. So that's another thing to think about. I think it's just important that you feel like you want to be out there. Like you don't, if it's too cold and you're miserable, you're not going to want to be there. And so thinking about, okay, let's let it warm up a little bit. Let's let, the sun come up. I think that, it just really depends. When I go to the bog, when I go to Zaxton Bog, I usually get up pretty early. The birds are at the feeders in the morning. And then throughout the day, as you again get into dusk, that's when the great grays are a little more active, and the northern hawk owls and other owls are out there. So yeah.
Yeah, and also for clothing, right? Well, I guess if you're snowshoeing, but also in some of those days that we get, there's not enough snow and it gets a little bit slippery, right? You wanna have those what do you call them?
The
That you can put
tracks, the
huh?
tracks.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Tracks, yeah. Yeah, I
Yes,
think
for sure.
I found those pretty useful when when I need to get out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I see here, what are some of the other winter specialties that you see and where do you see them around the Twin Cities? What I do is I follow eBird because they tell you what's being seen around the Twin Cities, especially. I would follow eBird, look for either, you can sign up to get a daily eBird post, or you can get an hourly eBird post. And so, even right now is it the Northern Goshawk is at Ramsey, I think it's at Sucker Lake. But they'll tell you about different, ducks that are coming through. I know this past November, lots of great sightings at Medicine Lake, great birds. Then there's always the specialty, the little, Carolina wrens that are being seen around, or somebody might see a tufted titmouse that has been posted, in the Twin Cities. So I think eBird is a really great place. You can actually put in there, like, if you wanted to see a northern shrike, for example, you can put in northern shrike and it'll tell you where it's been seen, within the past, week or whatever. But you can, in the last couple of days, you can see where northern shrikes have been seen, and so you could go there and try it. So that's what I would say. And then, do you know Crowhassan? You know who knows Crowhassan? Wilmer.
Yes. Yes, Crowhassan is a great, it's one of my favorite parks within the Three Rivers System Park. And yeah, and even in the winter, it's a good park. They have nice trails for snowshoeing. I see there, I see northern shrike there, and also rough-legged hawks in Crowhassan. The only thing is Crowhassan, it's it's not they don't have like a visitor center or anything like that, right? It's a very minimalist park, right? It has a couple of bathrooms but the trails are great. I love that park for in the winter or in the spring. Yeah, and anytime they have great prairie, the prairie system that the Three Rivers Park has managed to restore there. It's a great place. Definitely is within the metro area here is a good park to visit. Definitely.
Yeah. The other thing about winter birding is, like, you don't have to compete with the leaves. So that's great. And yeah, that open prairie, I'm always looking for raptors to be out there kind of, hunting around. Those are always great to see.
Yeah, the other thing that I kind of has to deal with is the changes on temperature with your equipment, right? With binoculars, you're in the car, you might drive 45 minutes, and then you're running your heat, obviously, and then you get to the place, you get out, and then or all of a sudden either your camera or your binoculars get all foggy. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Yep. So one of the things that I do, especially with so there's two things I do with my camera. One is if it's super cold, I actually take my battery out and keep it in my pocket. I actually always carry 2 to 3 batteries, especially in the winter, because they can go out just by the cold. So I try to keep them warm. Sometimes I'll put my camera in my jacket to keep it warm if I don't take my battery out. And then the other thing is, especially like at Zaxxon Bog, when it can be really super, super cold, is making sure that when I go into the car, my binoculars or my camera are covered up so that the condensation doesn't get on it. Some people put it in a plastic bag and then go in and out of places to protect, again, from the condensation. That's what I do to protect.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's good. That's a good tip. Yeah, because it's one of the things that you have to watch out when you're moving in and out of the cold and the heated places. So.
Oh yeah, or even just like you're huffing and puffing and you're getting your binoculars or camera all fogged up.
Yes. All right. Well, I see. Let me see. There's a couple of questions.
Yeah, short-eared owls at Crowhassan or Baker Park?
I haven't seen short-eared owls at Crowhassan. No.
I've seen short-eared owls close to the Twin Cities at Afton State Park, and not the Afton where the visitor center is, but it's called Afton off, I call it Afton off of 50th. And during this time of the year, and not every year, but I've seen short-eared owls at Afton off of 50th.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. If you have any other question, you can put it in the chat. Let's see here. We have missed any other question? No, I think we got all the questions from folks. Thank you for posting those and having this good conversation about winter and getting out. It's important to to get outside and enjoy nature, even if it's very cold.
Yeah, and I just wanted to thank Monica for her wonderful presentation, and I really appreciated the inclusion of the winter bird count as
Yes.
a place to get involved in birding. That's actually how I really got started birding. I volunteered for a Christmas bird count, and you kind of get paired with people of different experience levels. And so in some ways, it's almost like having a free guide. And, I was able to see birds and hear birds, but I didn't know what they were, so I could spot them. And then you are sort of in this community of birders, and it's a great way to meet people and find new places to go birding. And you spend the whole day with people who might really know their stuff. And so you learn a lot about ID tips and get to see some special birds sometimes. So I know December 15 is very near to today. So if not this year, then next year. But I would like to echo Monica's endorsement of the winter bird count for a wonderful winter birding experience. And thank you again for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, Monica. We've recorded this program. We'll post it on our YouTube channel. So if you know anyone that is interested or if wasn't able to attend, please feel free to share it. We also would like to welcome you and invite you to tune in to our upcoming January program, which is all about Sax-in Bog. And it's the title of the program is Do Birds Need Winter? Sax-in Bog and the Biodiversity of Boreal Ecosystems. And we'll be having Clint, who's the master naturalist at Friends of Sax-in Bog, teaching us all about birds who need winter and the boreal ecosystems found in the bog. And then we also have an upcoming February program titled The Truth About Cats and Birds, Protecting Urban Wildlife from Domestic Cats, that will be led by an urban ecologist at University of Maryland. I've posted the event link to our website in our chat. And again, I'd really like to thank Monica and Wilmer for joining us tonight, and hope that you feel inspired and empowered to go out and enjoy birds this winter. And we hope and look forward to seeing you again at our future events. So I will close the meeting and wish you all a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica.
Yeah, thank you.